something online. You got all these fans and trolls telling him to, slide for Von. You still haven't slid for Von. But don't you think that's setting him up for failure?
Well, check this out, homie. Him and Von was partners. He lose Von. Then he lose his brother. Do I get to mourn? Can I process my grief? Or do y'all want me to throw my life away?
Exactly.
Y'all want me to crash out and come back down there with y'all so y'all can talk about me even more. I can't win with y'all. I can't win.
Deadly shooting near the Beverly Center. We've learned the victim is a friend of rapper Quando Rondo. The Atlanta-based performer shared this picture on Instagram today. According to the LAPD, the victim was ambushed by 3 men while getting gas on Friday. Video from the scene appears to show Quando Rondo distraught while first responders moved the body. So far, no arrests.
Welcome back to the channel, where we break down the biggest stories in hip-hop and uncover the real stories behind the headlines. Today, we're diving into a shocking, tragic case involving the music industry's dark side. 5 men from Chicago, all linked to OTF, have been charged in a murder-for-hire plot to kill Quando Rondo. This was an alleged retaliation for the death of King Von. But what does this mean for OTF, Lil Durk, and the hip-hop world? Let's break it all down. In November 2020, King Von was tragically killed in Atlanta, outside a hookah lounge. The fight that led to his death involved Quando Rondo's crew. This incident sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community, and 2 years later, we're seeing the aftermath play out in the courtroom. Fast forward to October 2024, and now 5 men tied to OTF are facing federal charges in Los Angeles. They're accused of being hired to kill Quando Rondo as revenge for Von's death. The indictment includes charges like conspiracy to commit murder for hire and use of a machine gun during a violent crime. So who are these 5 men charged in this case, and how are they connected to OTF and Lil Durk? Let's break it down. Kevon London Grant, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Bryan Lindsay, and Asa Houston. Prosecutors allege these men had ties to OTF, the rap collective founded by Lil Durk. Flights and rental cars used in the plot were reportedly paid for using OTF-linked credit cards. This directly ties the organization to the plot. But here's where we need to take a step back. Why are individuals linked to one of the biggest names in hip-hop involved in a murder-for-hire plot? This brings up a larger question about the lines between music and real-life violence. Hip-hop has long been about storytelling, often tales of struggle, hardship, and survival. But when do these stories cross from entertainment into dangerous realities? We have to ask ourselves, is the industry enabling these actions? In this case, federal authorities are alleging that members of OTF were willing to go as far as murder to avenge a fallen associate. And even worse, that this was financed through the same resources that fund their music careers. Take diss tracks, for example. These songs are often loaded with real-life threats. Is it just art imitating life? Or is it life driving the art into even more dangerous territory? The indictment suggests that OTF as an organization is involved in more than just music, potentially a criminal enterprise that promotes violence through both its lyrics and actions. So let's think critically here. What responsibility, if any, does the music industry hold? Companies like Sony and Universal Music Group have invested millions into these artists, promoting their music and, some would argue, glorifying their violent personas. King Von, for example, built his career by detailing his life in the streets of Chicago. Songs like Crazy Story and Took Her to the O describe real-life gang violence. But when these stories start to fuel real-world retaliation, where's the accountability? Are record labels complicit in this violence by continuing to promote these artists, knowing that their words are more than just lyrics? Some might argue that music is a form of self-expression, but when lives are being lost, is there a line that's been crossed? We need to ask these hard questions. Let's talk about the legal side. These 5 men have been charged. But what does that mean moving forward? According to the indictment, they're facing charges like conspiracy to commit murder for hire and using a firearm in the commission of a violent crime. These are serious charges, carrying life sentences or even the death penalty if they're convicted. This also ties back to the 2020 murder of King Von. Remember, King Von was a major figure in OTF, and his death has had a massive impact on both Lil Durk and the collective as a whole. Prosecutors allege that the hit on Quando Rondo was directly linked to avenging Von's death. It's not just about these 5 men or even Quando Rondo. What we're seeing is a cycle of violence that's playing out both on the streets and in the music industry. And if these charges are true, it begs the question, how far will people go for revenge, fame, or both? As fans and consumers, we need to think critically about the content we engage with. When we listen to these songs, are we supporting the art, or are we unknowingly perpetuating real-world violence? The tragic deaths of King Von and now the potential murder for hire plot targeting Quando Rondo highlight that these are not just stories, they're real lives being affected. So what happens next? We'll be following this case closely as it moves through the courts. Will these 5 men be convicted? Will this change the way we think about hip-hop and its relationship with violence? One thing's for sure, this story isn't over yet. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into hip-hop news and culture. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. What do you think? Should the industry take more responsibility for the actions of its artists? Let me know below. Thanks for watching.
I know, Baker. I know. What was that?
Something online. You got all these fans and trolls telling him to, slide for Von. You still haven't slid for Von. But don't you think that's setting him up for failure?
Well, check this out, homie. Him and Von was partners. He lose Von. Then he lose his brother. Do I get to mourn? Can I process my grief? Or do y'all want me to throw my life away?
Exactly.
Y'all want me to crash out and come back down there with y'all so y'all can talk about me even more. I can't win with y'all. I can't win.